we forgot to record for 4 weeks.
Oops. No, sorry, not sorry. We had big things happening, you guys. If anyone's listening to this, your very own Alexis has moved house.
I did.
A whole damn
I
house.
moved across the city. And so I'm in a new office now. And so if my sound is kind of echoey, I apologize. There are 4 pillows and all of my crocheting all over the floor to try to dampen the sound. But this is a much better, or much bigger room than my old office, so.
Yeah, and I've got dogs in the room with me, so if they do anything weird, I mean, it is what it is. They exist, so.
They're being really good. I love hearing that.
Yeah. My old man's sleeping.
Because usually we're like editing them tippy-tappying outside of the room in the back of the editing, but they're just like chilling right now.
They're gonna go off when someone gets home, but I think they'll be. We're gonna trust them.
Best not say that name in front of them.
They know him by the D name.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But yeah, we took a break, which turned into a break from editing, which turned into a break from hosting. So I think maybe after episode 3, season 4, you're gonna get this big old gap. You actively have already gone through the big old gap, but that kind of tells you how far in the time machine we are.
Wow, yeah.
But we're still looking for an editor, if anyone, or a producer, if anyone is willing to edit our podcasts.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. That's the part we don't like. We love hanging out. We love watching our show, but then
yeah, we will happily give you a producer credit. Heck, if you're a fan of Psych, you can join the pod as long as you do the editing. Like, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, a little bit. New friends, welcome.
Yes. Okay. Reach out to us at totheblueberrypodcast@gmail.com. But if you are interested in listening to my other podcast, it's called Talk Tech with Data Dave and can be found on all major podcasting platforms. Shall we actually talk about the episode now?
It's showtime.
This is
To the Blueberry!
I am Alexis, and I'm a real-life Gus.
I'm Kaylee, and I'm a real-life Shawn.
Together, we are a real-life best friend duo who loves the show Psych and decided a good reason to talk to one another once a week was to host a podcast.
Yeah, now we get to hang out and talk about our favorite show mostly every week.
Yeah, I love it. Well, except for this past month, but that's a different story. Today's episode is Season 4, Episode 11,
Thrill Seekers and Hellraisers.
Now, that is a reference to ZZ Top's Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, right?
I mean, sure.
Okay.
I mean, I just trust them to make an episode title reference. I'm just like, Lexus got it.
There is another interesting ZZ Top connection that we'll get to a little bit later, so.
Oh my.
I know. I kept that one when in our pre-chat for me to share later.
If you can hear my dog panting, I'm so sorry.
I can't. I'm not worried. Okay. If you can, listeners, email us. I didn't catch a date, but I'm assuming it's 1987.
It is. It's 1989.
Oh,
yeah.
1989.
We're in 1989, and we see Henry come down the stairs with his newspaper, and I wrote, does he sense something? Or maybe he heard something on the roof. He just looks around, very confused all of a sudden.
And then something just flops off the roof.
It just, drops, a lead weight past the window, and he, runs outside, because it was maybe boy-shaped.
Yeah. We get outside to find Shawn and Gus. Little baby Shawn and little baby Gus practicing base jumping, they say.
Well, what had happened was they're climbing down off the roof from the ladder. So it wasn't either of them that dropped swiftly past the window. They're using dummies to test their parachutes. They're practicing base jumping, and we see little baby Gus is off to the side. He goes, yeah, that's mine over there. We've made improvements since then. He has stuffing coming out, Alexis. There's stuffing coming out.
Henry gets very Henry about it and said, as long as you live in my house, you follow my rules. And then Shawn does the very Shawn thing of, well, maybe when I don't live in your house anymore, I'll be exciting.
And take any risk I want. And Henry says, okay, well, when you and Gus are 30, you can go right ahead. And then he looks at Gus and he goes, Gus,
you can be as wild and reckless as you want.
Oh. And then he looks at Gus and he's like, come on, Gus, you're smarter than this. He's the one who gave Gus a complex, darn it.
At present day, the boys are being wild and reckless by playing with bunnies. And we're not talking like Monty Python, Deadly Rabbit sort of bunnies. We're just talking about bunnies.
Yeah, at the pet store, petting adorable, adorable bunnies. Here's the thing. Here's where I diverge from our boys extremely far. I don't trust rabbits. Never trusted a rabbit. I won't be caught dead holding a rabbit. They can't be trusted. They're twitchy.
We had a lot of rabbits in our old yard. And my husband was pretty notorious for going, bunny! And like looking out the window and then screaming, Alexis, bunny, bunny! And then I had to go and look at the bunny. But I started naming them. And I was actually, we had a very consistent group of them that were in our backyard. And so I finally figured out how to tell the difference between them, which was kind of fun. But I never held any of them because, they were wild rabbits and stuff.
Yeah, but even domesticated ones, like, I don't want to hold someone's pet bunny. I don't trust it. Like, I just can't. There's a horror movie called Night of the Lepus. I've never seen it, but I mean, I know. I have this sort of rough theory that I was Napoleon in another life because there's this story about when he was exiled to Elba. He thought a nice pastime would be out hunting rabbits. This segues into our episode, I promise. But instead of being like docile, timid, run and hide bunnies, they swarmed and attacked him. So if I wasn't Napoleon, maybe I just also had a very unfortunate Elba rabbit experience in my past life. But as we learn, the French eat rabbits. And Shawn can't believe it.
Among others.
And Shawn is like,
Shawn actually hints that rabbits might eat other rabbits.
He said, yeah, I'm not counting, other rabbits. And Gus says, rabbits don't eat other rabbits. Shawn would like to disagree. He thinks they do. I wouldn't trust them.
The secret comes out, though. And Gus just kind of blurts out that he has a secret girlfriend.
Shawn is like, what? I'm so mad at you. Wait, why am I mad at you? I can't remember because I'm holding this adorable bunny.
You brought me all the way down here to get me all hopped up on this bunny love so you could spring this on me and I wouldn't make a scene? Well, it's working. I don't even remember what this whole thing was about.
Because Gus... Oh, no. He said, I have something big to tell you. Shawn said, anything. Gus is like... Oh, no. He said, Shawn said, anything. Nothing can dent our impenetrable bond. I think we've proven that so far. And then he's told that Gus has a secret girlfriend, and Shawn says, you're dead to me. So there's a lot of very quick back and forth. It's very fun. I have way too much written down, and I'm not reading any of it because, I took too many notes. But Gus says they met at Bevmo. Do we know what Bevmo is?
Nope.
But she's in marketing.
Her name is Ruby, and she's in marketing.
And she's really cool.
Shawn is a little bit concerned that she might be just trying to take him to the cleaners.
All my cash is tied up in dress shirts and what else?
I don't even know what dress shirts got me. Striped ones specifically.
And Shawn wants to know why Gus waited so long to tell him.
I guess Shawn tends to scare away Gus's girlfriends.
Yes.
But often for what Shawn considers very good reasons. And then Gus said, you asked the last one if she knew the riddle of the Sphinx.
You dodged a bullet there, man.
Shawn did know the answer to, but only because he saw it on Super Friends.
She had the exact same opportunity to see that episode. But
Shawn puts down the bunny. No more bunny time. It's time to get real.
He will not be swayed or easily impressed due to the intense adorability high of petting the bunnies. So he's like, I'm not going to make this easy on her. The bar is here, down at about waist level. She needs to get up here, above shoulder level. Probably about eye level, to be honest.
So Ruby comes in. She walks in at that very moment. This was a true bunny ambush. And I don't know if you caught this or not, but when they greeted Ruby, Shawn did the Gus hello.
Oh, no. She says, hi, handsome, and I heard Shawn go right back at you.
Oh, okay. I misheard everything then. My bad.
I don't know. That's all I have written down. And Gus is like, she means me.
Ruby has been cleaning up ducks from the oil spill.
Oh, yeah. Sorry she's running late.
Shawn thinks that's wonderful, so he scales up. But then he feels that it was very rehearsed, so she scales down.
Yeah, he says, that sounded a little rehearsed. Did he give you that? And Ruby says that he's just as kooky as advertised, but Gus really undersold that hair.
Scale up. But I really like this guy, and she rubs the magic head. Scale up again.
Shawn has some questions for her. First, it is, what is your favorite color? She says, black. He says, liar. She says, prove it. And then he says, what is your favorite flavor? She says, of what? He goes, everything. She says, mango. And he's like, too easy. And then he's like, what is your favorite Magnum P.I. episode?
That's the only thing I have. What's your favorite Magnum P.I. episode? Followed by, she got the answer right.
She said, did you see the sunrise? And he was like, second favorite? She said, did you see the sunrise part 2? Wait, scratch that. Reverse them.
Scale up again.
Yeah, she's winning.
There is a lovely walk and talk with Shawn and Gus and Ruby.
Oh, you guys have the most rich and fulfilling friendship I've ever seen. Shawn says, yeah, we're just like Andy and Ducky with just a hint of Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Shawn's like, okay, time to meet your friends. But Shawn is free right now, but Ruby already has plans. And they don't have enough supplies for them.
Shawn actually goes, supplies? Oh, I said there are really pretty fall trees behind the boys during this episode.
Gus gets a kiss goodbye, followed by, you know that's right. And then we are off to a single Shawn and Gus walk and talk through what seems like kind of the woods. And they are obviously crashing the picnic for vetting.
Yes. Gus says, I can't believe we're crashing the picnic. Shawn says, you asked me to vet her. Gus says, I did not. Shawn says, I'm going to vet her till there's no vetting left to vet. I didn't get the whole quote. He just says vet a lot.
Basically, she was too prepared for the interaction at the pet store. She needs to be surprised. And then he brings up Mira.
Ooh.
Mira.
Yeah. Gus says, don't mess this up for me. Shawn says, you want this. You want me to do this. You want to avoid another Mira situation.
I don't need your help.
Are you sure about that?
90% sure.
Are you really sure that you're sure about that?
Okay, 81% sure.
Shawn says, let the vetting continue. We psych in on a guy putting on a seatbelt, talking on a cell phone.
I wrote, sees dude in truck on phone, red flag. Find out later, false red flag.
Ruby turns around and she was like, hi, what happened to next week?
We don't have enough supplies.
Yeah,
no
Gus
worries.
is like, sorry.
They brought their own Gruyere.
Shawn. Ruby's like...
Gotta love a good cheese reference.
Ruby's like, you wanted to catch me off guard. Shawn is shooketh.
Scale up. We get hit with some big guest stars here.
Yeah, so introduced as friends, Derek Walker, Jessica Martino, and Stu Crawford.
So Derek Walker, I best know from the
Reba.
long-running television show Reba, where he played a himbo.
Oh my god, the best himbo.
But I think our younger audience, because we have such a vast audience on this podcast, will more likely know him from, oh my gosh, I just said it out loud.
Shameless.
From Shameless, where he plays a Big, handsome, kind of bad guy. Jessica Martino is played by a actress slash WWE wrestler at the time who was known for her long legs. And her intro song to WWE was Legs by ZZ Top. There's your ZZ Top
reference. Okay, we're going to follow up on this a little bit later.
We followed up, or we are, don't we? We followed the last episode with John Cena with another WWE wrestler, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, we did.
Stu Crawford, who I know from things, and I don't know his actual person name.
No, I didn't write him down. Yeah. He looks so familiar, you guys, and I'm gonna kick myself because he's in stuff, but I feel like he'd make a good Russian.
I think you would too. It's funny that you went, oh, because Shawn's response to finding out the guy's name was Stu was to go, Stu.
I'm not booing, but it sounds like I am. I just wrote Shawn being awkward, and Gus is sorry for crashing, and Derek is like, not crashing at all. Go gear up and come with.
My favorite line in this scene is that the boys thought that they were having a picnic because it was lunchtime. But it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then Shawn said, oh, you have to understand. Lunch for us starts 10 minutes after breakfast ends and goes till 10 minutes before dinner starts. And then there's this whole dinner and dessert situation, which is lunch and dinner and dessert and dinner. And I just connect with that statement, so.
It rests in my hobbity soul because we've got breakfast and second breakfast and 11sies and luncheon and afternoon tea and dinner and supper. And, it just covers the entire clock. And I have that clock. It's in my kitchen.
Shawn's, pretending to be okay with this because he's done it 100 times.
But it's a small world. The ride doesn't count.
Derek is excited to find out that Shawn is psychic.
Yeah, so Shawn is like, now that we've met all of you, I'm sure you're curious about me. And Derek's like, actually, yeah, you're psychic? You want to predict my future?
The, easiest thing that Shawn could see was that everybody had these GG logos on their life jackets except for Stu. And he was like, I can tell that Stu is the expert here.
Wow, yeah, he is the most expert one. Jess is very impressed.
I can also tell that Jessica is a very free spirit.
She's single, but looking. And Ruby's like, wow, how'd you know that? He says, she's tickling my ass. And then Jessica goes, it was totally an accident. This time. I was just so taken aback that he said, tickling my ass. That, I was just like, what? It was weird.
That explains why my notes say she's touching my butt.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I edited that for myself. They are rafting, and we kind of find out a little bit more about the team. So first we find out that they are a tight-knit bunch who kind of met each other along the way.
Yeah, they kind of, wait. Okay, I have this written down. Hold on. Derek and Stu met at the wildlife preserve, which is ironic because Derek used to be a big game hunter. And he says after he bagged the big 5, he turned over a new leaf.
Big 5? Mouse? Squirrel? Turtle? Chad Michael Murray? And I always forget that last one.
Dude, none of those are correct. So then Ruby's like, I work with Jess, and after she and Derek broke up, because they used to date back when he was a big game hunter, they just didn't want to break up the friend group and just figured out a way to all stay friends.
Gus is like, oh, okay, and then starts talking himself up to make him look good in front of his girlfriend's friends, which I get. And Shawn starts to note all of these noises that he's hearing, which we hear as well.
Well, we get a lot of people saying, you guys seem so at ease with this. And Gus is like, I'm used to meeting new people. I'm in sales, la da da. And I was voted this and that and these superlatives in high school. And Shawn is like, are we in a flight path? What is happening?
We get okay, is everyone ready? And Stu starts to hand out whistles.
What are these for?
They're in case anyone gets lost.
Yeah, they're about to go on some pretty intense rapids.
Have you ever been whitewater rafting?
Yes, but only on the East Coast where it's like scaled differently than the West Coast. Yeah. Like they have a totally different number scale.
Did you get a whistle?
I think it might have been on my life preserver.
Okay,
it wasn't separate.
I had one on my life preservers that, like, every time I did it, I thought that was part of it.
Yeah.
Preservers. I had a hard time saying that word. Okay. Shawn and Gus's response to these rapids ahead are to paddle the opposite way.
Yeah, Jess is like, I never thought you guys would be into extreme sports. And Gus is like, what? And Shawn is like, that! And then we see the rapid, and then the whistles, and then we learn that Ruby is a woo girl, because the whole time they're on these rapids, she's like, woo! Woo! And I just wrote down random quotes that I heard during this pandemonium.
I would love to hear those, because all I have is, it sounded like most of them were having fun. They were fun-sounding screams, except for Shawn and Gus, who were having terrifying screams.
So someone goes, paddle forward! And Gus goes, you must be out of your damn mind! And then Derek says, next level! And then Shawn says, Jessica's hand is still on my thigh! And then Gus says, help me, Lord! And Shawn says, ask him to help me too! And then it kind of like all comes down. Everybody else was like wooing and stuff.
The rapid is over, but Stu is gone.
Yeah, it's Shawn who says, where's Stu? And then we like are looking around and people are calling out, and then credits.
It was 11 minutes into the episode before we got those credits.
It seemed so long. I was like, oh, holy crap, now? But it was a good breaking point, I think.
Juliet's on site at the site of the crash, and or at the site of where everyone got off. And they don't know how or when Stu fell out of the boat.
Yeah, Gus says, there was so much water in my face. And Shawn says, yeah, Gus, all those tears. And
this was the most exciting thing I've ever been through. It's like when I found out that you could get brownies delivered.
Except a person is missing. And Shawn's like, oh yeah, that part really stinks.
We get the statement that Ruby and her friends are adrenaline junkies. And Gus kind of feels like he's been cheated. Isn't that something that someone should have disclosed on the first date?
And Shawn says, yeah, if only someone could have vetted that out for you.
Gus and Ruby have an aside, and Ruby feels pretty badly about not warning him that they were going rafting in such a manner.
Yeah, and that she's into that stuff. And she's like, I just didn't want to scare you off. Some guys get really freaked out about it. And Gus is like, you're not scaring me off. And then Shawn is like, Gus, can I have a word with you in the stop saying crazy things to Ruby room? Please.
It's like we've walked into Final Destination.
We walked out of that movie.
Shawn wants to push the eject button.
Yeah, he says, what, you didn't break up with her? And Gus says, I changed my mind. And then Lassie walks up, and everybody's like, what is going on?
Lassie has Stu's vest. And in Lassiter fashion, he begins to speculate that he believes Stu has drowned and is probably nowhere to be seen. Jessica is sobbing, and Shawn sees that there is something missing from the vest. Specifically, like a little carabiner thing that he remembered seeing on the vest earlier.
In Lassiter's defense, they did press him for his opinion on what that meant, that he found the vest. And he's like, they're all like, we could take it. And so he told them. And he's like, what? They said they could take it. Which, come on, Lassie. They're civvies.
And that would have been my assumption as to what happened as well. So I feel it, Lassie. Shawn goes, he did not drown. I can sense that he swam away and then dumped his vest.
Lassie says, what? So he went all fish mode and swam away? And Shawn said, come on, cat like Stu would never pull a Kevin Costner. But he did swim away. Is that another Guardian reference?
I have no idea.
Oh no, never mind. That was a Waterworld reference. I'm an idiot.
Two movies I've never seen. At the Santa Barbara Police Department, Shawn is having a moment, or Juliet's having a moment. I don't know. But they found some netting near the rocks where the boat had gone by.
Yeah, so Shawn was telling Gus.
Shawn believes that he attached himself to it.
Yeah, Shawn was telling Gus, and then Gus is like, but why? And Shawn is like, I don't know. And then Juliet's like, guys, we actually found the netting on the boulder. It looks like blah, blah, blah. And Gus is like, but why would he fake his own drowning? And Juliet's like, this is why.
Clearance sale at mattress discounters seems redundant.
No, other side. I hate this stupid newspaper gag they keep doing.
The last one was D's nuts.
Yes.
I wrote that down. That's a weird shtick. Stu and Samson, his business partner, just filed for bankruptcy. His name is Brian Samson.
Yeah, I just wrote down Shawn has a bunch of nonsense about Samson, and then I wrote down Bible nonsense. I didn't write down these quotes.
So I didn't write down any of them. They were kind of tedious for me.
Yeah.
It was funny the first time, and then it ran through the entire episode. And I don't know, I just didn't feel it.
I like it more when it comes up because no one else is like acknowledging for Shawn that Samson sounds like this big epic name of something of pertinence, and it just ends up being a guy named Brian, and that can't stick in his brain because his brain never goes man named Brian Samson. His brain goes epic, like battle warrior thing.
Which, I mean, biblically speaking, we could have that debate about Samson, but that's not where we're at right now. Shawn thinks that he must have had a partner who helped him get to safety. And Shawn kind of thinks it was Ruby.
Well, yeah, Lassiter thinks he definitely had a partner, and he's very mad at Shawn for talking nonsense. And Shawn psychs out to Ruby telling Shawn not to sit in a place because it's Stu's seat. Like, before they start rafting. Here's my thing. He's the most expert member of this thing. That is where the, like, person who's teaching you how to whitewater raft would sit. So this could be absolutely nothing. To which I say, Shawn is psychic. This episode has so much evidence. Continue.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That's the guide seat. That is where the most experienced person should be sitting. Because they're also, like, the rudder. But, yeah. I don't even know where I'm at with my notes here.
Oh, he wants a word with Gus. Yeah.
Good news. We can use Ruby to solve the case and then look like heroes.
Yeah, because the bad news is, I'm pretty sure Ruby helped. Gus is like, you are unbelievable. You are against Ruby, and you have somehow convinced yourself that it's justified because she's wrong for me and some kind of nonsense about she must have done something wrong. And she's awesome, and you just can't deal with that.
And Ruby is not Mira.
Shawn is like, has she met your parents? And Gus says, they're at a timeshare in Chula Vista.
Shawn has the next best idea.
To meeting Gus's parents. And then he says...
Which is to meet.
But they had this little aside that I swear was improvised, where Shawn goes, where's Chula Vista? And Gus goes, I'm pretty sure they made it up.
That's what they're talking about when they're walking away, yeah.
Yeah.
His plan is to have her meet Henry, the human lie detector. And Henry is pouring her a drink, and they are sharing fishing stories.
Oh, we break in. We're on Henry's bar. Henry is leaning on the bar, riveted, and she says, so it's been 3 hours, and I'm all bloody and blistered from trying to reel in this marlin. That's when I realize we're in Cuban waters. And I realize this because their patrol boat has just blown a hole in our hull the size of a bowling ball. And then she goes... Henry, this bourbon really packs a wallop. And then she gives it to Gus, and Gus chokes on it.
Gus tastes it and can't breathe. Henry just loves that story. And then Ruby brings up that she's still very worried about Stu.
Yeah, because that whole, like, boat sinking off of Key West and having to swim ashore thing, the whole trip was planned by Stu, and it was her best friend, and blah, blah, blah. So then Henry goes outside, and Shawn follows Henry outside, where Henry is grilling, and Shawn is like, so sus, right? She's totally sus. It's
obvious that she's been lying. She's obviously lying about that fishing story. She's hiding something. And Henry said, no, listen, you always embellish fishing stories. It's just how it goes. Henry really likes Ruby.
And thinks that Shawn is just super jealous because Gus is in a really healthy relationship with a really awesome girl, and Shawn kind of just lost his awesome girl.
You had one with an equally great woman, but you let her slip away. Now, Kaylee and I were talking about this earlier, like pre-recording, and one of the things we noted was that Ruby and Abigail were very similar characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, barring the
And
adrenaline
this
junkie
is-
nonsense, but
Yeah, just a different kind. I mean, she did just go to a third world country to teach kids English, so.
yeah, she's a world traveler. Ruby's an adrenaline junkie. They're both really cool. They both get all the references. They both know how to like vibe with different groups of people that the boys are kind of weird around. Different cultures and old men. So we go back into Henry's house where Gus and Ruby are, and Gus is like, "Oh man, Henry loves you." And Ruby's like, "Yeah, but I haven't won Shawn over."
Well, that's just because Shawn... Oh, you're gonna think this is hilarious. Shawn thinks you helped Stu disappear.
Oh my god, what?
He really is psychic.
Gus is like, "Wait, what? You did?"
She did help him, and she said that he said he was in some sort of trouble and just needed a few days to figure it out.
And Gus is like, "Well, we have to tell the cops." And Ruby's like, "I can't. Stu literally begged me for just a few days." And she's like, "Stu, trust me. I'm the only person he trusts. And I trust you." We're in a trust circle now.
He really wants to tell Shawn, but nope, can't tell Shawn, because then it would be a trust triangle.
And Gus says, "I want out." And Ruby says, "There are no doors. There is no Shawn."
For the record, it's already a trust triangle because Stu's in it.
That's what I said. But we get more on this later.
Shawn comes in, he's trying to be cool with Ruby, and because he realizes that Henry probably was right, and he screams, Smith's lyrics, "You, me, 5 minutes."
Well, he says 10 minutes, and then she says, "Okay, we're starting with The Queen is Dead." And Shawn goes, 15 minutes.
Gus absolutely will not look at Shawn when he comes in and Ruby walks away. And Shawn does a very heartfelt thing where he says, "Listen, dude, I was way off. She is really, really great. I would like to clone her so that I can have one for me and one for you." And then there's this whole thing about how she needs to be a little bit dumber so that she can connect with Shawn better. The
Yeah,
clone,
just
that is.
slightly dim.
And all
Gus
these feelings
just-
might just be because he hasn't heard from Abigail in a month.
Yes, and what, like a month? And Gus is like, "Well, I really appreciate your honesty," but he still won't look at him. And he's like, "What did you guys talk about?" And Gus sort of changes the subject.
At the Santa Barbara Police Department, Juliet's like, "We cannot find Brian Sampson anywhere." But they did find his assistant.
Oh, Shawn, once again, is like, "Great name. Sounds like a dwarf warrior from Willow." To which I wrote, Val Kilmer reference. They have Charles Lucas, his assistant, and Shawn is like, "All right, don't worry, Jules. You want me to read them? I can tell when someone's hiding something." And he kind of like looks to Gus for confirmation, and Gus is looking away from him very pointedly. And he's like, "Every time I talk to you, you're looking away from me now. What's up with that?"
Gus makes an excuse and runs away.
Well, he says he's got something in his eye, and Shawn is like concerned. And he's like, "Oh, what? Let me see." And Gus is like, "Monkey brush." Shawn is like, "What? That's not a thing." And Gus goes, "Oh, so what now? You're going to tell me that monkey brush doesn't exist? Bye." And he runs away. I was like, that is the most ridiculous borderline slapstick thing we've seen in a minute from these guys.
Luckily, that got followed with a, "Gus, don't be the new Meshack Taylor."
Oh, designing women.
I've been actually just finished watching that entire series.
Oh, jealous. On Hulu? Is it on Hulu?
It's on Hulu, yeah. And I just finished the entire series, and it was worth watching. I did not realize, though, not that this is a Designing Women podcast, but
Not yet.
I didn't realize that the last two seasons, 2 of the women who were in the first 5 seasons left the show.
Ooh, I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah, I guess I only ever watched the first 5 seasons. I never watched the last 2 until now, so. But Meshack Taylor stays the whole time, which is good stuff.
Yeah.
Red flag guy's there. That's
In the
that's the
interrogation
assistant.
room. With Lassiter.
And he's like, "Dude, I don't know anything that's going on."
Lassie's like, "You're not leaving this room until you tell me the truth." And the guy's like, "You can scream truth at me all day long. I won't change my answers because I don't know."
Lassiter looks at Shawn and said, "I just want to make it very clear that you are just here to observe. You are not here to question in this interview.
Smile and nod, smile and nod. We recognize him from Shawn's Psych Out when he thought he was going to a picnic. And he goes, well, I've got something. You were there. You were there at the river when Stu disappeared.
Yes, he was. He dropped them off, and then he took his car downriver so that they wouldn't have to walk all the way back up the river. And he's not lying about that.
Yeah, he took a cab home. And he talks to Gus. He says, man, he's not lying. His lip is still. There's no sweat on his forehead. His fingers aren't trembling. So Shawn walks over, claps a hand on Charles Lucas's shoulder, and starts to notice all the things going wrong with Gus appear to be signs of lying.
Who still won't make eye contact, whose lips are trembling, who has sweat on his forehead, and whose fingers are not perfectly still. And Shawn calls Gus straight out in the middle of the interrogation in front of Charles Lucas.
Yeah, and Lasseter's like, who's being interrogated right now? And Shawn is like, Gus, what are you hiding? And Gus leaves. Shawn chases
Lassie
him.
sees it too.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, he's definitely hiding something.
We have a walk and talk. Shawn knows that Ruby told him something that he is not sharing with Shawn. And then we find out, I think maybe from Juliet, that
Yes.
Samson has been found, and he looks to be a victim of a hunting accident in the woods.
Ding, 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 ding. Now, y'all, if all the things we've said thus far in this recap have not clued you in, I don't know what to tell you because all the signs were very, very clearly there in this episode. I didn't remember this episode almost at all, and I could tell you immediately who the killer was and how many people they were going to kill or attempt to kill.
Yeah. How many people were going to be dead by the end of the episode? Stu and Samson took out life insurance policies on one another.
Oh, yeah. They each took out a $1 million insurance policy on themselves, and they named each other as the beneficiaries. So Shawn is like, oh no, do you think
Red flag.
Do we think Stu killed him for the money? And Jules is like, well, that'd be plenty of motive. So Shawn goes to Gus, anything you want to say now, buddy? You sure?
Gus runs out.
He says, I gotta go, and runs away. So we give chase.
Gus shows up at a rock climbing place an indoor rock climbing place where he needs to talk to Ruby right now.
Jess and Derek are also there, and Jess is like, I know it seems crazy, but it's kind of our coping mechanism.
Shawn comes in. Gus is not about to go climb, and he refuses to talk to Shawn until he can talk to Ruby. So both of them decide to climb up the wall. Now, Kaylee and I cheated.
We had to.
Because I thought I found a pineapple in a totally different place. Which I don't believe it was actually there. Kaylee didn't find one at all. But up on the wall, there is a little pineapple-shaped rock as part of the rock climbing, which does not sound like practical in my book.
Oh no, it for sure was just screwed up there for the aesthetic moment. It's not like a handy hold of any good design. But it is at minute 24:02, right to the left of Ruby, and you have to look really close because it just looks like a little bit of a yellow blob unless you like pause and look really close and see like the texture that makes it a pineapple.
Mm-hmm. Shawn is climbing as well. Gus will not talk to him. Shawn is trying to figure out why. Gus said it's complicated.
Secrets. Yeah.
And then Shawn said, no, math is complicated. The show It's Complicated was complicated. The song Complicated by Avril Lavigne, ironically, not that complicated.
Then Jess starts weirdly flirting with Shawn again. Something about, ooh, you're finally learning to be the aggressor. And he's like, what? No, I'm not here to see you. And she's like, sure, and I'm wearing panties. I hate that word, first of all. Writers, do better. Women can be super aggressive flirters, and it doesn't have to be, like, stupid man toilet humor. Like,
yeah, I feel like Jessica is not a great representation of women in this episode.
The actress is doing the most, though. Like, props to her.
Yeah.
I love seeing her. Again, she's the one from the WWE. Legs for days, tall drink of water. We love it. We love to see it. But Derek leans over and gets kind of weird.
He also insinuates that Shawn is the one chasing after Jessica. And he's like, oh, you guys are getting along so well. Maybe I should give you my key to her apartment because you let your ex-boyfriend keep a key to your apartment.
Also, you're gonna let him give it to some random guy? None of this is mathing. Anyway, Shawn tells Gus...
This is complicated. No, sorry.
Yeah, this is complicated. Shawn tells Gus, come on, it is your responsibility to tell the cops what you know. If you don't, it's just the same as lying. And Gus says, oh, should I confess to them that you're not actually psychic? And Shawn is like, excuse me, how did you get from A to B? Because number one, he is psychic. Sorry, that's my aside.
That's fair. Gus is like, listen, need to let Shawn into the trust circle. Can't handle it anymore. Yep. Ruby says, Stu could never have killed Samson no matter what, or no matter how much he deserved it.
What are you talking about? And apparently she's like, Brian Sampson was using all of the money from their business for his exorbitant lifestyle. He's the reason they were filing for bankruptcy, but Stu never would have done anything rash. He wasn't that type of guy.
Shawn and Gus are off the wall and arguing about the case, their partnership.
To the Blueberry, because our walk and talk is taking us there.
There is a very funny back and forth, including a lot of wrong facts and a reference to episodes 1 and 2 of this season.
And Shawn is like, no, you need to do something else. I'm the one going to the SBPD because you're keeping secrets, and you should crawl back under your keeping secrets rock and get comfy there and have all your rock babies or something like that. I didn't write it down.
Both of them talk about how observant they are and how much they focus and everything. Shawn and Gus both get into the Blueberry. Gus pulls out. We see Shawn's motorcycle. Gus pulls back in. Shawn gets out, gets on his motorcycle, and moves on. We don't see that motorcycle unless it's for a joke.
Yeah, and then James Roday Rodriguez, he walks right up to it, picks up the helmet, and that's where the scene ends. Because he's not getting on that damn bike. Like, he's just not.
At the Santa Barbara Police Department, I made a note that we still have not seen Chief Vic. But
Alexis is eating ice. She has ice in her cheek like a chipmunk, and it's very distracting to me. No mouth sounds!
Sorry, I have an iron deficiency. Listen.
You're gonna have tooth fractures, you lucky.
Lassie is like, I know where he is. There is this small ranch outside of Reno. I believe that's where Stu has fled to after he killed Brian Sampson. He is ready to, get the troops going, and Shawn and Gus start playing with lasers all over his map.
Yeah, because he was pointing with a laser, and Shawn and Gus start add like 3 and 4 and 5 different lasers, and then wrong, Lassiter. I believe he is just outside of Lone Pine. And Lester says, and you know that how? And Shawn's like, the same way I know all the things I know about this case. Anyway, if you mobilize to Nevada, you potentially could embarrass yourself and all of the departments you coordinate with. However, if you go to Lone Pine, which is on the way, you risk only humiliating me.
All right, everyone, let's head to Lone Pine.
I love Lassiter. He's just like buying Shawn's logic. So he's just like, sure, let's humiliate.
The full brigade is there, and they are headed to this little tiny trailer.
It's like a
and Shawn and Gus are in the back of the brigade. Yeah, a little Airstream. Just like Woody. And Lassiter breaks into the Airstream, and whilst doing so, Gus is like, listen, man, I felt like I had to lie to you. Eventually, we're both going to be married, and there will be certain things that we cannot share with each other.
Shawn's like, I don't want to think about that right now. But also, we're still going to live next to each other and have pools that go across both our lawns, right?
Fist bump of solidarity.
Shawn says, dibs on the diving board.
Yeah, right, son. Shawn and Gus head into the trailer, and it appears that Stu has 1144'd himself.
Yeah, there's a gunshot wound to the head, there's a gun on his stomach, and Lassiter's like, well, I guess this is all tied up all neatly. Like, come on, Lassiter. When is it ever? Do some actual police work. Come on.
We go to the Santa Barbara Police Department where we finally see Chief Vic.
It's been a million years. I've missed Chief Vic. Her presence brings such levity.
Love me some Chief Vic.
So, the whole gang's there. Ruby and Derek and Jess and Shawn and Gus and Chief at the head of the table.
Stu's friends have no idea why he would have 1144'd himself, even considering the bad financial state that he was in.
And he didn't leave a suicide note.
And then Ruby's like, I was the only one who knew that he was doing this.
And just is like,
and then,
excuse you, he came to me first, and he asked me where he could hide, and I told him, that's not the way to act. You need to, like, man up and stand up for your problems and not go into hiding.
Ruby thought that she was the only one he could trust.
That is so like you to think that you're the special one. Yeah, they have, like, this full, almost, like, knockdown, drag out, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, not even friends like sisters fight that bad. This is, like, catty. Do you even really like each other?
Vic cuts them off, stops the fight. Shawn is very interested in the girl fight continuing. It doesn't happen. And then we find out from Chief Vic that Jessica once stalked Brian Sampson.
That is such bullcrap, okay? He was sending me mixed signals. Mixed signals, Shawn.
It probably goes without saying, but Jessica is now a person of interest and has been asked not to leave the city, the town, whatever. Derek's like, good, can we all go? Chief Vic says yes, they all go, including Ruby.
Yeah, they're kind of dismissed. And then the boys are reminded that they're not actually hired on this case. And she's gathering her papers together. She 1000% lets Shawn get a peek. Like, she's just like, da-da-da-da-da. Here's this ME photo of the man we have downstairs that we found the body of. Da-da-da-da-da.
Shawn sees that picture, and Gus and Ruby have a walk and talk where they decide that there will be no more secrets. And then they have a lovely group hug that Shawn lets himself in on.
I have a question about Gus and Ruby's back and forth, because he admits to her that he's divorced, but he has no children. And she admits that, and is she only talking about her hair here, or is she claiming that her tan also came from a bottle? Like, does she mean her hair is a bottle and weave, or, okay. Because I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
I think she's saying it's a weave and it's dyed. Yes. Bottle and weave.
Yeah. She's a bottle brunette and she has weave in her hair because she has glorious hair.
She does.
And her credit score is 770, which is not bad. I mean, it's not ours, but...
I was like, not as good as our credit score.
Yeah. I guess it's fine.
Shawn pretends like he was all about Ruby from the very, very beginning. And Gus says that he...
Oh. Go for it. I was just going to say...
that he is now 110% on the Ruby train.
Mm-hmm. And he says, you know what? You go take care of what you got to take care of. I'll handle the case for a while. And Gus is like, the case we're not hired on? And Shawn goes, you know how we do.
There's another fist bump. And Shawn goes to the mortuary with Woody.
I just wrote Woody. I couldn't read my handwriting, but it says Woody. There's a little bit of back and forth. Woody is still really even keel in this episode. He's not weird yet. Like, he's quirky, but he's not weird.
I'm going to tell you where I think the line crosses.
Okay.
The Shawn brought him a pair of slippers to bribe him for information, which is solid. There are some more Samson jokes that are going on, to which Woody's all about that.
Oh, yeah. And Shawn says, when I say Samson, what pops into your brain? And Woody says, a vacuum you can use in space. And Shawn is like, thank you. Thank you.
Woody said that they did not find a bullet. However, he thinks it came from a Winchester 70 rifle.
Shawn is like, ooh, wow, without a bullet? How do you know that?
I'm not exactly sure what the lead up was, but Woody's response is, correct you are, my nicely gelled friend.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful hair reference.
Wonderful.
And he's like, here's the science behind me figuring out that it was a Winchester 70. Here's where it gets there for me. A watermelon for the head. Of course.
Standard.
A porterhouse to represent a human thigh.
Naturally.
And Maplewood to represent Oakwood.
I'm saying quirky. I'm saying that's not freak flag time.
I'm trying to figure out why they need something to represent the head and something to represent the thigh.
Maybe not on this guy, but Shawn is just kind of going with it, and he's like, I really wish I could help you. And Shawn is like, you've helped me more than you know. And he goes up and he's psyching out for Lassiter and Jules. And he's like getting all the words wrong. I didn't even write down what he says. Do you have any of them?
Worcester was the first one. The sauce? That doesn't make any sense. Westchester. The country? A country can't shoot someone. Winchester. 69? 70. Yes, a Winchester 70. Jessica owns one.
Dun, dun, dun. So we get them going down to, like, check in on Jess. That's Lassiter and Jules. And then Shawn gets on the phone to Gus, and he's like, hey, where are you and Ruby? You have to stay away from Jess. Like, just don't go near her. And Gus is like, Ruby went paragliding with Derek. She said she needed to clear their head. They're weird.
We cut to Derek and Ruby, who are paragliding or whatever they're doing, and hang gliding. I'm not sure. Derek is using the GPS because they're going to use the GPS to hike back to their original spot. And when he's setting the coordinates, Ruby sees that there is a lone pine measurement in that GPS.
Like a GPS marker, yeah. And she's like, why is that in there? And Derek's like, really wish you hadn't seen that. Because she's like, oh my God. And then Shawn, at this exact moment, is having like a super psychic freak out where all of a sudden he's like, Derek introduces himself as a big game hunter, but he's turned over a new leaf. Derek used to date Jess, and like maybe that's why she has this
still
big
has a
game
key
gun.
to her apartment.
Right? And then Derek talking about how they're such a tight-knit group, and then the weird look on Stu's face. And Shawn is like, oh my God.
Ruby is in danger. They have to take the bike.
Yes, at the psych office, Shawn is like, they've just raided Jess, they've booked her, or no, Gus says they've just raided Jess and they've booked her, and Gus is like, yeah, she was crazy. It's a good thing that they got to her before you two hooked up. Shawn is like, what? In what world am I hooking up with Jess? And Gus is like, you know.
You know honey was fly.
You know honey was fly. And Shawn is like, well, yes, she had legs that I could climb. Which, we had to make a reference to her legs because it's pertinent to her wrestling career.
We're back to Ruby and Derek, and Ruby is like, not really in shock, but in true disappointment with Derek.
Oh my God,
she's like, how could you do that? He was our friend.
He didn't know the meaning behind the word friendship. I made Brian pay, and Stu could cash in, but he all of a sudden got a conscience.
Then she's like, well, how about we decide to be friends and you just don't kill me? And Derek goes off on this huge kind of weird thing where he's like, you don't understand how awesome it is to kill other human beings.
Well, he actually says because he hunted Brian down. He's like, there's adrenaline rush of hunting a man down and seeing the look on his face when he understands what you're about to do. It's so next level. It's unlike any of this other stuff we even do.
Ruby's like, okay, let me try to make the crazy man work for me. And so she starts hitting on him. It doesn't work.
Oh, she's fully like, I could always sense that you were the strongest of us. I was always so jealous that Jess got to be with you. And he's like, don't insult my intelligence. Which she's allowed to because he's a, I can't even with words. And she's like, fine, but I had to try.
Derek is ready to push her off the cliff, but Shawn can see everything now. Shawn and Gus have shown up and is like, I know what happened. Derek killed Samson to help Stu get the insurance money, but then Stu freaked out about it.
Because he wasn't crazy.
Gus starts talking, starts screaming, stuff like that, and Shawn's reaction to that is to give it to the magic head.
Yeah, to like do his like psych out hand. Yes, and he's like
give
just
him the
fluttering
juju.
his fingers. It's so good. And Gus is like, yeah, he wasn't crazy, so he was going to go to the police, and that's why you had to get rid of Stu next. And then Shawn is like, are you done? And Gus is like, yeah, I'm done. And then Shawn takes it back.
Basically, he used the gun. He took it back to Jessica's so that it was there. He tracked down Stu. He killed Stu. Derek said, peace. And he jumps on his power gliding thing and is ready to go. But then Gus jumps on to Derek's back and goes gliding with him.
Yeah, so what happened was the SBPD showed up. And Derek is like, whoop, and is out. And then Gus chases him down and pops on him while Shawn goes to make sure that Ruby doesn't accidentally slide off the cliff. And they're in the SBPD car, and they're like, oh my god, Gus, hold on! And Shawn is like, don't worry. When Gus is scared, he can cling to something like a drowning cat. Which is very dark, but...
Gus and Derek end up landing in like a baseball field sort of area.
Yeah.
And Derek is completely passed out.
And Ruby is so impressed. She's like, oh my god, you manhandled a murderer to the ground.
A man protects his lady. I am your rock. I am your island.
And then Gus is like, yeah. And Shawn is like, for real though? And Gus is like, I maybe sort of squeezed him too tight and he passed out by accident.
And my helmet might have smacked his chin by mistake.
Shawn is like, okay, so you muscled up his back and you put him in a sleeper hold on purpose. We're gonna go with that.
Fist bump.
Which, good looking out. That is the perfect story, and you have to get it straight.
At Santa Barbara Police Department for our final scene, Derek has been arrested. And
when they're bringing him in, I was like, they have a giant in custody. Ugh, he's too tall.
Gus has come back from taking Ruby home, and Shawn keeps saying that Ruby is lucky to have Gus.
Oh, but Shawn also, not catcalled, but jeered at Derek when he was getting taken away. And he was like, yo, the next level's gonna be dope.
We find out that Ruby and Gus decided to take a break to see if the attraction was actually real or if it was just an attraction based on all of the adrenaline moments that they've had at the beginning of their relationship.
So I thought the reason for Gus waiting to tell Shawn was that he wanted to make it sure it was real and solid and that Shawn couldn't mess it up. So how long have they been dating, and then all of a sudden all this like adrenaline murdery stuff happens?
It was her idea.
Yeah.
Of course.
Shawn was like, look at my grown-up man making grown-up decisions. It was her idea, wasn't it?
Of course. I was begging. Shawn starts going into this hypothetical situation where he's like, dude, I keep thinking about what would happen if we would have to go out on the lam. If it was us, death and starvation are imminent, how long would you want me to wait before I ate you?
What? What is the matter with you? I have no answer to that.
Juliet comes up and they ask Juliet if she has ever considered eating her friends.
She gives a...
in the face of imminent death.
So Gus is like, people don't plan for that. And Shawn is like, it's perfectly reasonable. It's like a living will.
Lassie comes up and asks Lassie, and Shawn asks Lassie if he has a plan.
And Lassie says, well, I'm with Spencer. I have an order worked out of how I would dispose of all of you in that situation.
O'Hara, Guster, then Spencer.
And I even have a list of whose organs I would want for transplant. And a contingency for if I was the last man on Earth and had to procreate with a member of the department.
Shawn, Gus, and Juliet all walk away very, very quickly.
Well, none of you even made the list.
Lassiter. That's a very humorous ending to this episode that I quite enjoy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this isn't my favorite episode, but it was fun.
This episode also may have sparked me thinking about in what order I would eat the three of you should we end up in the face of imminent death.
You 1000% have thought about that before. Like, I think this original viewing of this was the impetus.
Yeah, I think it was. The first time I watched this episode, I was like, I have three friends. In what order would I eat them?
Here's the thing about Alexis. Alexis is the most honest carnivore you will ever meet. She eats meat, and she's willing to eat any other kind of meat.
No, that's not true. I'm not willing to eat any other kind of meat. However, if the situation presented itself, I had thought about like flavor and tenderness.
Oh my
as an
god.
option. And so there were like there were certain aspects as to why I picked the order that I picked. If I'm being honest, I don't remember the order at this point.
Also, we are all in our mid-30s. We are no longer tender. It's not going to matter that much.
You'd be surprised.
Oh god.
Okay.
We should
I
say
need to
she
cut that
has a
out.
background in culinary.
Yeah, yes. At the time, I was also in culinary school, so we were talking a lot about meat and how meat is
Marbleization.
like how you prepare animals when they're animals to be meat, and yeah, there was a lot of that going on. So yes, I believe that this was the impetus, though.
I should take this opportunity to come out as, once again, 100% completely vegan. It has. I fell off that train for a little while. I thought I was doing enough eating local, and I've actually gone back to 100%.
Have you?
Yes, I have. It's pretty recent, but I'm reading a book, and I'm like inspired. And when I was like, well, people are kind of gonna ask me why, and I was like, I just want like a quick pithy answer, and I was like, the only thing that came to mind was a quote from Zoolander. Like, the book's quick answer is like, just individually trying to widen my circle of compassion to other beings and the earth and everything. But the Zoolander answer that I like is, I just thought maybe there had to be more to life than being really, really, really ridiculously good looking. So that's why.
I don't even want to talk about anything else. That's where the episode needs to end.
No! We can't. We have quotes. Not from Zoolander.
Oh, that's true. From not from Zoolander. Okay. Well, I am Alexis. More than a little, but less than enough. But I make sense, don't I?
And I'm Kaylee. Because I'm beginning to question your dedication to this case, our partnership, and maybe even America.
And this has been...
To the Blueberry! Psych out.